We good, Raymond?
We are good.
All right. Well, good first night of the draft for us. I think we're excited to add Yaxel to the program. I think I said it a week or so ago that we felt like being at 11, we'd get a really good player, and I think we did. So, it's a guy that we feel like fits with our system right away. Obviously, being a more older, mature player, those types of guys you can expect to come in and have more of an impact than maybe some of the younger guys. So we're looking at it as something that could help us right away as well as down the line. But overall, pretty pleased with the pick. And, we'll see going tomorrow night and see what happens there. But so far, so good for night one.
Age is obviously kind of, I guess, a question mark with him. How much did that factor into the decision? And I guess, why aren't you worried about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's 20? He's 23, almost 24. He's not. Man, I'm not worried because he's not 38.
How immediately do you expect him to contribute?
I think it's tough. Anytime a guy's changing levels, whether you're going from high school to college to the NBA, so it's hard to say. But generally, guys like this guy who's physically ready, he's played at the highest level of college, won a national championship, maybe those guys can play sooner. And so next year, to be frank, whether we want him to or not, given our roster constraints and injuries and stuff like that, the opportunity will be there.
Mike, what ultimately made Yaxel the pick with where the board was at that time?
Yeah, I mean, we just, went through the analysis of everything. He was a top guy for us on the board at the time, so, that's why we picked him. But, I mean, this is a guy who, historically is off the charts in terms of his production at his age. There's basically never been a player this good at his age. So it's unique for us to evaluate. But I think we felt like to get him and add him into what we have just checks a lot of boxes. The dribble, pass, shoot stuff and the defensive stuff. He does a little bit of everything while adding tremendous size.
I don't know how much or how specifically you want to get into this, but Burries was on the board until one pick before you. Was there some anticipation for him? And the draft camera showed you guys right before the pick, and it definitely looked like it was a little animated there with you and Joe. I'm not trying to read into anything. Was there some things going on right as you were making that pick?
Yeah, we got into it about the best golf course in San Francisco, and he didn't agree with me, which, it's all in the eye of the beholder. But no, I mean, the other guy that you brought up and the other play, like, this is a really strong draft. So I felt like once we got to 9, 10, 11, we were going to be anxious to see who falls there. But we felt like at 11, no matter what happened, we were going to get a player. So as far as the discussion with Joe and I think at that point there was probably some talks about trades and things like that, but ultimately we were all in agreement to land on taking Yaxel.
I just wonder, Steve, at a panel right before the draft, mentioned it was a public panel that there were it was a good thing you were at 11 and not 12. That there were 11 players. I don't know. Again, if you want to get that specific, but it relatively true.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it last week. I'm glad. We were at 11, not 15. 15 would, if we had made the playoffs, we would have been at 15. And, sitting there a week ago, like, man, I wish we would have made the playoffs, but I'm really happy we have 11. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm being frank, we had 11 players in this draft. So going into it, we knew we'd get one. Maybe a couple extra made it through, but it was definitely a tight line there of where we're picking.
What position do you see Yaxel playing in the immediate future? Is he more of a power forward for you guys, or do you see him on the wing?
I mean, that's the beauty of him. I think he can play everything. I think he can guard. I mean, there's a potential he can guard 1 to 5. And then offensively, I think he's a forward. He's a forward that can play some small ball center. And just the way he handles the ball, I mean, there's some backcourt ball handling responsibilities he can take care of. I mean, I think this is the intrigue with this pick for us, is the versatility.
Mike, you referenced trade talk, and there was a lot of chatter today about you guys potentially fielding offers for 11 and New Orleans trying to get in the lottery. How close did it come? Did you guys have serious trade talks today?
There wasn't anything major, but when you're on the clock, you get calls, and I think from our standpoint, we knew we were going to pick Yaxel at 11. He was the guy, but you just want to flush them out, make sure you're not missing anything that falls in your lap or makes a ton of sense. So, that's what we were doing. And I think Joe was like, come on, just let's go ahead and pick the guy. And I said, Joe, we have time. They give you 5 minutes. And so he was just getting a little anxious about us taking Yaxel. And the good thing was, because we were on the clock, nobody could swoop in and take him ahead of us. So I was willing to be patient about it.
Mike, you said Yaxel is a guy who fits your system. Was that the goal going into this draft, or was there a part of you that maybe wanted a player who didn't fit, who probably brought something different than the style of play you guys go with?
No, I think for us, I think you got to pick the guys that you think are going to work and make it. And for him, his ability to do some of these things on both ends of the floor, that bodes well for him helping our team and him having individual success. So you always feel better about that. There's some times where guys are super talented and it's hard to pass on that stuff, and maybe they don't fit as well, and there's going to be a clunkier, tougher fit. And sometimes you got to look at that real hard. But in this case, we found a player that we loved and we felt like could fit really well with how we play.
Is there any holes you see that he will fill from what you guys need in order to compete next season?
Yeah, a bunch, really. Again, the passing, the ball handling, the defensive stuff, whether it's kind of on the ball or off the ball. But I think really to connect some lineups with his size, he can literally plug in at multiple different positions because he can guard small, he can guard big, he can play inside, he can play outside. So it probably makes our job in free agency a little bit easier, frankly, given what's going on with Jimmy and Moses and their injuries. So to me, I never want to draft for need. It just works out that we really liked a guy that has the potential to come in and fit what we need.
Having spent some time with Yaxel, get to know him a little bit, how would you describe his personality, and how do you see that fitting in with the current roster?
Man, he's he's got a outgoing, bubbly persona. Just great to be around, whether you're sitting there with dinner with him or just kind of hanging out, talking. He brings some positive energy to the room, which is awesome. And so, for that, I think he'll fit great with our group. You're always looking for those types of guys. He's, we just feel good about not only the player, but the person we're bringing in.
Mike, you guys obviously liked him when you brought him in, but his big game experience, especially in the tournament this year, what did you see there that kind of got you guys thinking about going down toward him?
Yeah, I'm partial to guys that have won a college national championship. And so, having a guy that's played at the highest level, for him, especially coming from a smaller Division I at UAB to transferring up, having that success this year, not only as individual player, but a team success. If you saw the national championship game, there was a guy that was banged up, he was hurt, but he wanted to go out and play. And we like that competitiveness about him. And, I think to do it at the highest level on the biggest stage could bode well for him having some success here, because that's how we like to do it.
Did you feel any stronger about him after you worked him out, or was he already pretty much set on your board?
Yeah, I don't like to overreact too much with the workouts. You should generally go more on the body of work, but he was good. And then I think more just getting to know him a little bit. We spent some time with him the prior year as he put his name in the draft, but this time around we got to spend even more time with him, and there's just a comfort level where if there's any questions or doubt, and also speaking, with his college coaches and things like that, we do the full dive on these guys and feel really good about what he's bringing.
Mike, how in the back, how involved, if at all, were Steph and Draymond in this pick specifically?
Yeah, they were at some workouts. Yeah, they were at some workouts, but they didn't get too involved with it. Maybe they're starting to, trust me a little too much here. But no, they, yeah, I don't know. They were around they were involved as much as they were around, but like this wasn't. Nobody was sitting up in the war room, showing me their board.
Kind of touched on it a couple minutes ago, but when you sat down and talked to Yaxel, what stood out to you the most about him just as a guy?
Yeah, I think it's just his. He's got a positive presence. He's got a good vibe. We had dinner with him. We did official interview. We watched some film with him. We had him in our building. just kind of the guy that you think has like a great day every day was my takeaway. And so you bring those types of people in the building, like it just uplifts everybody. And I think he'll be one of those guys.
I mean, you said pre-draft that you wanted to make a pick, but if something appealing enough with a veteran came available, you might do that. Anything with not another pick, but a player?
Yeah, not really. Not really. I mean, you didn't see much of that across the board of the draft this year, right? I mean, I think everybody valued the draft, some really good players in it, and we didn't want to pass up the opportunity to take a guy. There wasn't anything. You have discussions going into it like a week out with teams, but nothing came across for us that made a whole lot of sense.
What's kind of the updated status with Draymond and Porzingis, Draymond's option and Kristaps?
Yeah, I mean, we'll turn the page more to that. Obviously, we've had discussions with their group, with their respective agents over the last week or so, and we'll do that as, June 30th comes, but kind of more turning our attention to that after tomorrow. But, I feel good about that. I feel good. I mean, I think the feeling is mutual about having those guys back. They're unique. They help us, and hopefully we can get something done.
Mike, what was the phone call like bringing him in? You've been on the other end of that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is, for these guys, it's the best night of their life, right, so far. And, their families are there. It's sort of the realization of their dreams. So they're, he was super excited, happy, emotional, all that stuff. And I think for me, it's like, man, just, enjoy tonight, because you get out here, you get to Summer League, you get going, it's a lot. And tonight's the night to enjoy it. And hopefully him and his family can do that.
I know there are no absolutes in something like this, but you did mention he's going to be pretty ready to play as maybe you'll find in college. Were there guys like you moved way down because you didn't think, okay, this guy's just not going to be ready to play? Did it work in the other way where there's just going to be some guys that we're not going to be looking at 11 if we just don't think they can play this season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Tim, sometimes that happens, but in this range where we're at, I was pretty good with everybody being able to come out. I mean, these guys, whether they're young freshmen or they're a guy like Yaxel who's 24. These guys all had really good years to make you think, well, if you can transfer up and play 1 year of basketball as a freshman and be this good, you probably can do it the next time around as a rookie in the NBA. So I don't think we were in a position tonight at all where it's like, well, we may take this guy and he's not going to be ready. But again, you don't really know, but I think we would have the confidence to put any of these guys out there, knowing with some of the injuries and stuff we have next year.
And I know he shot the three decently, but not a lot of volume. Do you expect him to be a three-point shooter, maybe even right away, or do you see that being a big part of his game down the road? Yeah,
I mean, I think he definitely amped it up at Michigan compared to the time he was at UAB. I think that was a good progress to see. The volumes there, particularly very good from the corners, very good free throw shooter. So we think everything checks out for him to be a good shooter. And, when he's open, he's willing and capable.
With Yaxel kind of picking up basketball later than normal, spending time in JUCO, with that unconventional path, how might that change the way you look at where he's at in terms of developing?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you could say his, physical age is maybe not the same as his basketball age. So we probably see him a little bit younger from a basketball standpoint in terms of playing organized basketball. I think he said he's played maybe 6-7 years of organized basketball, which is super young. So in some ways he's old, some ways he's young, but more or less we think he's really good.
Every organization is obviously different. Joe was outwardly, pumped about the draft at all times. From your perspective, how was he during this process, and how do you handle that?
Yeah, no, he's great. He's so into it, and I think this year, winding down the college season, know where we were at as a team. I think he really focused in on the college stuff and watched it and knew a lot of these guys. And I think coming out at night, he's really happy. And I told him, I go, Joe, no matter what you do, we're going to get criticized. It doesn't matter if we pick young, old, good, bad, short, tall. And he goes, I don't know. I don't think so. I go, Joe, trust me. And then sure enough, he goes, can you believe what this guy said? So, no, he's really excited about it, the pick and kind of who we got and how we think he can help us.
Did he have his own big board?
I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't. I'm sure maybe he did, but he didn't break it out. But I definitely knew where he stood on guys.
You talked
at the pre-draft process with Yaxel and everything, was there a moment or a realization or an epiphany in that process where you realized this guy could be the guy for us?
Good question. I mean, I think there was a moment at the Combine in Chicago where, like I said, we had interviewed him the prior year when he had put his name in the draft, and then he came back and interviewed again with us this year. I think I noticed a different guy, frankly, whether it was his experience in Michigan, his experience winning, another year of maturity, whatever it was. He was, I think he was more about the right stuff, more mature, that type of thing. And I think that kind of made us realize, like, this guy, we got to really consider this guy. He's unique on the court, and he's about the right things as a person. So I think that was a moment that we really kind of clued in on him. And, from there, we had him out here for a visit and, followed him and studied him. And here we are tonight, drafting him.
Mike, you said you haven't seen a player that's good at his age and his production is off the charts. Could you talk more about that element? What did you see that really popped?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's a reflection of where we're at in college basketball now, a little bit. Like, you're starting to see older players, and then it's also a reflection of his journey. There's just guys that would perform as good as he has would normally come out a year or 2, 3 years ago. So, unique situation, but the fact for me that he's always kind of been good. This isn't a guy that just showed up one year at Michigan and all of a sudden beat up on younger guys. Like, he's always been good in college, and then he really stepped it up this year at the highest level. So I think for that reason, we don't treat him as like one of these traditional older guys. Be careful about drafting a 20 whatever year old in the lottery, that type of stuff. I think he's probably in a category by himself.
And given how deep this draft class is, and I was consider, has the team concerned get one more first round pick? And if so, what kind of situation would make that a real option?
Tonight?
Like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly looked at some stuff after drafting Yaxel. There was a couple other players we really liked, and again, I mentioned it's a really deep draft, so we felt like the first 10, 12, 13 picks were really, really good, and so we took a stab at some other stuff and just didn't work out. But we still feel good coming out of it with Yaxel, though.